Hi guys, my name is Taki. I'm first year student from Forensic Science program. I hope you guys enjoyed the expo and the activity that you guys have done. And the most important thing is, I hope you guys learned something from this expo. Right now, in our segment, you guys are going to learn one of the subspecialty in forensic science, which is ballistic. I know most of you doesn't know what is ballistic, and maybe some of you have never heard the words before. So, let me explain what is ballistic. Ballistic is actually a study of firearm and ammunition. We forensic science students learn about how to identify the firearm, the ammunition, how does it work, how does it function, and the most important thing is we learn about what evidence that this thing left behind at the crime scene, because it can help a lot in the investigation. So before we go further details, let us find out the basic thing in ballistic, which is firearm and ammunition. So what is firearm? Firearm is actually a weapon that can launch bullets or projectile. It has three basic parts in it, which is action, stock, and barrel. Action is actually a moving part that can load or fire the ammunition and eject the cartridge case. And then the second part, which is stock, is a part where held by the shooters, and the last part, which is barrel, is a metal tube that projectile or bullet travel through. These three parts is only a basic part in firearm, and actually there is many more parts in firearm, depends on the types of firearm and the model. There is actually three types of firearm, which is handgun, shotgun, and rifle. Different types of firearm have different use. There's many more things that you guys can learn about firearm, but I think this is the only thing that I can share to you guys right now. So let's move on to the next part, which is ammunition. So what is ammunition? Before I explain, I want you guys to imagine a bullet before it fired from the gun. The things that you guys imagine right now is actually an ammunition. Yes, it's actually an ammunition. A bullet, on the other hand, is merely parts or components of ammunition. Ammunition is actually one or more cartridges case that consisting of bullets, propellant, and primer. In ammunition, at the front part, which is the tips of ammunition, there is actually a bullet, and then it's attached with the cartridge case, and inside the cartridge case there is a propellant, or most of you guys know as gunpowder. And then at the back end of the cartridge case, there is a primer. I hope you guys can see and can picture the image of ammunition. So how ammunition works and how can bullets separate from the ammunition. So let me explain. When you pull the trigger of the gun, the spring mechanism will hammer the metal firing pin at the back end of the cartridge, and it will ignite the small explosive in the primer. So when there is small explosive in the primer, it can ignite the propellant, because as you guys know, propellant is gunpowder and it can burn easily. So when propellant's chemical burns, it can generate lots of gases very quickly, and it causes the pressure inside the ammunition from low to high very fast, and that is the reason why ammunition, the bullets can be separate from the ammunition, and it travel through very fast, and it can kill people. That's all from me. This is actually only a basic thing in ballistic. I hope you guys understand, because after this, my friend Danny going to explain more further details about ballistic. I hope you guys enjoy it and have a nice day. Bye.
Hi everyone, Assalamualaikum. My name is Dania Akilah binti Masin Syaizan. So what I'm going to talk about in my part is 3 things that I would like to share on what are the things to note in a ballistic crime scene. First is definitely the bullet and the bullet's casing. If you go to a crime scene and you don't see any bullet or any of its bullet casing, how can you determine or deduce whether that scene is a ballistic crime scene? Because you don't have any proof, you don't have any of the ballistic items. So that is the important thing to note. You have to look for the bullet and the bullet casing, because if you don't have those, you can't bring or convict the suspect or perpetrator in the court, because you don't have any proof that it's a ballistic crime scene. Second is gunshot residue. Gunshot residue is a component of ammunition. It is primarily consisted of burned and unburned particles when a bullet is fired from a firearm. This gunshot residue may be found on the skin or the clothing of the shooter, or can be found on victims. This gunshot residue can also be presented on target materials at the crime scene, and also people who are at close proximity with the crime scene may also be presented by the gunshot residue. Therefore, any interpretations of who the shooter may be must be approached with caution, because the gunshot residue can be anywhere. And the final important thing to note in a ballistic crime scene is the bullet trajectory. Bullet trajectory actually gives you a picture as to where or from what height is the shot released. Is it shot from lower levels? Is it from higher grounds? Or is it a long distance gunner? Or it could also be a short range gunner. So that gives some hint into solving the case. Also, bullet trajectory may also deduce the height of the perpetrator on how tall or short he or she may be. So those are the 3 things. I'll repeat again. The first one is bullet and the bullet's casing. The second one is gunshot residue, and the final one is bullet trajectory. So now, focusing more on the bullets, because that is what our home lab kit will be about. When a firing process occurs, the bullet passes down through the barrel. In the barrel, there are lands and grooves that guides the bullet to spin, accelerating its motion as well as increasing the shot's accuracy. These lands and grooves leaves striation, markings or impression on the surface of the bullet, which what forensic ballistic experts refer to as bullet striation. When a bullet is discovered at a crime scene, the unique markings on its surface is used as evidence to link the bullet to a specific firearm. Later on, or maybe during the same time, when the firearm is discovered, forensic ballistic experts will conduct test fire. The bullet striation that was retrieved from the test fire is compared with the bullet striation that was found at the crime scene. So if they have the same striation marks, then it can be suggested that the bullet found at the crime scene did indeed came from that particular firearm. So I think that's it on the theories of ballistics. Let's now dig into some ballistic cases. A real life example on how forensics ballistic experts help solve a case back in 1990 in Illinois, USA. But before I share this story, we all have to understand that in USA, it is actually legal to have weapons of a certain grade allowed by the government, of course, or the military. So what happened in 1993 was a man allegedly murdered his girlfriend in their car, and he was sentenced to prison after trials in court where they had witnesses giving out their testimonies approving on the conviction. However, in 2019, that same man who was still in the prison, he asked for a favor from lawmakers to retest his ballistic evidence on the case, as during that time there was also a rising technology in ballistic called the IBIS, Integrated Ballistic Identification System, which offers a high resolution and a multi-dimensional image to compare the striations on. So this retest allowed forensic ballistic experts to take possession of that man's gun, and they conducted test fire on that gun to compare the bullet striation during the test fire and compared with the bullet back in 1993 when it was submitted as an evidence. So it was proved later that the two bullets was not of a match. So the bullet at the crime scene did not come from that man's weapon, that man's gun. So he had to actually spend more than 20 years in prison for a crime he did not commit. So here it is very crystal clear that ballistics do help solving crime cases, and of course the technology that is growing more than ever also plays a main role, huge role into solving crime cases. So I think that's all from me.
Guys, my name is Jamie and I will be demonstrating you how to use your home lab kit. So without further ado, then let's get started. In your home lab kit, you can see there is 10 pictures of surface of the bullet. 5 pictures is the reference bullet, while the another 5 picture is the suspected bullet that we assume was used by the suspect at the crime scene. So your job is to find the match of each pair. Sounds easy, but actually it's not. The first thing you need to do is to find the length and the groove of the bullet, and lastly you need to match each of the striation of that bullet so you can assume that that is the bullet that comes from the same weaponry that we used to shot the reference bullet at the lab. Okay, so before we can start our pair matching up with the reference bullet and the suspected bullet, you need to find the class characteristic and also the individual class characteristic. The class characteristic of the bullet is has many differences, such as the diameter of line and groove, the numbers of line and groove, and also the degree of twist, and so much more. While the individual class characteristic, we can took the striation of the bullet, right? So after I already informed you about those individual and class characteristics, let's apply that, shall we? So first thing first, I will take one example from the reference bullet. I will pick this one. Okay, this is my picture as an example for reference bullet. The first thing first, you need to find the class characteristics. Here is the length and groove. So I believe you already been informed about the length and groove of the bullet. So, but how do you want to apply that and use it to observe the length and groove of the bullet in this reference picture? So let me show you. This is the groove, and this is also the groove. Meanwhile, the between of those grooves are lengths, and the length of the bullet. So you already obtain one of the class characteristic of the bullet, that is length and groove. So by using that information, you can narrow down and eliminate some possibilities that you can avoid, so to increase your accuracy to find the correct pair. Alright, so after that, try to find the identical length and groove by identifying the diameter of the length and groove and the number of length and groove and so on. So after I analyze and observe, I believe this picture has the exact same length and groove, as you can see here. Okay, you can see here. Alright. So we can determine that this reference bullet is also identical to this suspected bullet. But do not assume that this is the bullet that we are looking for. You need to also consider about the individual characteristics, that is striation. By doing that, we need to use the consecutive matching striation theory, or CMS theory for short. What is CMS theory? CMS theory is where you consider, or you take 2 or 3 groups, or 2 or 3 lines of striae that has the same exact relative position on both of those reference bullet and also crime scene bullet. Alright, so by doing that, you need to find out which striae that you want to pick as a point striae. I will pick this one, right? If you find more striation, then it's better. Okay, and then try to match it up, right? Try to match it up those with this here. So it has the same number of striation, it has the same relative position. So we can conclude that this is the exact same bullet that comes from the same weapon that we use by the lab as a reference bullet. So after I explain all this, now I want you to try the rest of the picture. You try. If you manage to find and match it, every single bullet that you found in this picture, you are one step ahead to become a forensic investigator of firearms and ballistic. But if you're not, don't worry, you have time to improve yourself and learn more about firearms and ballistic in forensic science. I hope you enjoy your time in our Fiesta, and see you next time. Peace out.